From New York One News, here's This Week on Staten Island.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to This Week on Staten Island. I'm Anthony Pascal. It was hardly something to celebrate. The one-year anniversary of Hurricane Sandy recently passed, and it put the spotlight on just how far we have or haven't come in that time. This week, we're going to get a sense as to where we're at on the road to recovery here on Staten Island with those who have been living it every day. I'd like to welcome Assemblywoman Nicole Malliotakis, whose district suffered a brunt of the damage during the storm, Mike Hoffman, the founder of the nonprofit Yellow Boots, which continues to help people rebuild their homes, and Frank Mazinski, the president of the Ocean Breeze Civic Association, who is still not back in his home. Thank you, all of you, for being with us today. I just want to start by going around the table and get a sense from where you stand. Where are we, a little more than 1 year later, Nicole?
I think, look, we've come a long way, certainly, and we've made a lot of progress, but yet there's still so much to do, and to get people back in their homes especially. We still have hundreds of people who are not in their homes. They're still living in shelters or temporary apartments or hotels, and that creates a major problem, especially for those of us in government that are hoping to speed things along, but we're still waiting on certain administrations to move things forward, such as the Build It Back program, which has been, to date, really not even existing, because we've had about 4,300 people who have registered, and if you talk to the majority of them, they haven't even had any contact with the city, and they're still in limbo.
All right, well, Frank, I know you can talk to that because you've been out of your home since the storm. You've applied for Build It Back, and you say you haven't even heard back.
Have not heard back one time from Build It Back. My civic association has actively worked and had meetings with all of the representatives from Build It Back for maybe 6 or 7 or 8 meetings, and at each meeting we were told that we would be hearing from them literally the next day, and I could tell you still till today I've not heard from any one of them one time.
So you're currently living in an apartment, getting funding from FEMA for that apartment,
Rental
but you don't know how
assistance.
long it's going to last.
It's over.
Your plan now?
I don't know. Our plan is to ask the governor, please come and help Ocean Breeze and the rest of Staten Island. I'm not singling my community out. Please, we need the help. There's a city plan. It may work sometime in the future. It's not working now. People need help now. People need to go home. How long in New York City should we be out of our homes?
Mike, I want to turn it to you because you've actually helped a lot of people get back into their homes through your nonprofit Yellow Boots. How many have you helped, and from where you sit, where are we?
Well, we've touched over 2,000 homes in many different facets, from immediate needs to feeding to furniture to mold remediation, muck outs, demos, rebuild, finishing. I mean, to break it down into each category,
2,000 homes, not just on Staten Island, though.
No, not just on Staten Island. We've done a little bit in Brooklyn, the Rockaways, Long Island, and Jersey, but a good 95% of it's been in Staten Island.
So explain to me how this works with your organization. You have an organization, all of volunteers. You only operate via donations. How have you been able to make that work and help so many people?
Well, from the beginning, myself and my other co-founders, Fareed and Ross, the country came up real big in the beginning, and donations were coming from all over the country, and tools that were needed were being funneled in, and through other locations and other sources, the local politicians did what they could, and they tried to step over as much red tape as possible. And what we've done is we acquired those tools and we kept them, and we just keep reusing them. And we've had local volunteers that were unskilled before that learned from all these skilled volunteers that came in, and myself included as being skilled. And we just keep applying the trade and doing as much as we can with as little funding as we can. And we're trying to get more funding so that we can help a bigger scale of people. And hopefully more volunteers start coming back out.
Yeah, I guess the question for you is how much longer can you sustain this?
Well, we're going to try and sustain it till the very end. And then our goal is to be able to help the next disaster within our country as we grow, so they can learn from what we learned from, and they're not left on their own.
Nicole, I guess it speaks to these nonprofits, Yellow Boots, Solar Foundation. I mean, where would we be without the nonprofits if we can't rely on the city programs and the state programs, to help the people that were affected?
It's absolutely amazing that we had $60 billion coming to the region from the federal government, and we can't yet put one house together, yet these organizations that have been working with almost nothing have been so instrumental. These guys were out there the day after the storm with me, cleaning up the debris, helping people empty their homes. they have been there since day one, and here a year later, they're still working with almost nothing. But we are extremely grateful to them, because what has happened here, these different levels of government, the red tape, the bureaucracy, everything got lost in there, and really to the local guys like me and my colleagues in the City Council and the State Assembly and State Senate, we have been fighting every single day to try to get things moving along. It just seems that, you know, there's something going on with the red tape and the bureaucracy that is not, you know, allowing the money that we got from Washington to flow into the streets.
So what's your take? I mean, you're in government, you deal with these people on a regular basis. What is your take as to why there is so much red tape when the president said from the start, there's not going to be any red tape?
Well, I think, you know, we have 4,300 people that have registered for Build It Back in my district alone, and I believe that the city's just understaffed. They don't have the resources to send people out there to do the assessments and to get the people out there to do the work. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is not making this a priority and putting all your resources on the street to do these studies to see what are they eligible for. Are they going to get money to raise their homes? Are they going to get a buyout? Are they going to get money to rebuild their homes so they can move back in? I think that's where it's stuck right now. And that is, if you talk to Frank and the other civic associations, they've all registered, but they haven't had any return call from the city. And that seems to be where it stopped.
And I can imagine, Frank, for you, you lose faith in the government pretty quickly.
Tremendously. You can't say anything worse. New York City, the city that never sleeps, has been in a coma for a year as far as the people of Staten Island are concerned.
So there are some people, though, I mean, if you drive through parts of Staten Island that were impacted, there certainly is progress in some parts of the borough. What is it from where you sit? Why have some areas seemed to have gotten some attention and been able to move on, whereas, you know, on Quincy Street, Quincy Avenue, where you live, you know, there are still plenty of houses that haven't been tended to?
I wish I could answer that. I'm not sure if it's a matter of there was a lot of homeowners without insurance that have no recourse. We're in an area that just should not be rebuilt regardless. It's just too low, too many problems with fires, and I think people are realizing that and saying, you know what, it's time to leave this area, let it go back to nature, let the other areas be more resilient because of this, and you're seeing that. You don't have people that are down there saying, I was born here and I want to stay. No, people are saying it's time to go.
Mike, I want to get your take on that, because you're helping to rebuild some of these homes that might be in areas that are, you know, prone to flooding in the near future. Do you have a sense as to whether we should be building some of these homes back in some of the areas that are in so-called danger zones?
Well, in some aspects, it's hard to determine that, because some people have no other choice but to move back into those homes that are in the danger zone. It's not a choice for them. They have no option. They're running out of FEMA funding for apartments, or they're paying an apartment rental fee as well as paying their mortgage, and they're starting to drown in their mortgage. No one's going to buy the property, and if they do, it's going to be pennies on the dollar.
So it comes down to money.
It comes down to money, and it comes down to just assessment and knowing what the options are. And a lot of these people have zero options.
Let's talk about, with you, Nicole, where, you know, some of these properties are going to go in the future. I know that there have been some offers made to buy out some properties, you know, through the state buyout program. There's also chatter about whether these pieces of land will be used for possibly low-income housing in the future, or other types of development that some people, you know, might not be too excited about in those neighborhoods. Where are we at with that?
Well, with Oakwood Beach, that was acquired by the state, and that will not be rebuilt. That will just turn into open space as it should be. If you drove down Kissam Avenue and some of those streets, you don't understand how anyone was ever allowed to build there in the first place. I believe that buyout programs should be expanded to other areas, especially Ocean Breeze. If you go down Ocean Breeze, they're surrounded by wetlands, Phragmites. They have a very similar situation as Oakwood did. In other areas, the city is offered to, through the Build It Back program, acquire some of the land to rebuild. And we don't know yet the specifics of that, which is why it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating, especially that we're going to have a transition now into a new administration, and there's nothing set in stone as to what's going to happen or what people's options are, which is, you know, it's taking slow enough as it is. And now I'm afraid with a change in administration in the city level, it's going to be even slower by the time, you know, they get caught up to speed on what's going on. And so, you know, we're going to continue to fight for these the Build It Back to get moving. I know Congressman Grimm is out there today asking for another $600 million to be focused specifically on Build It Back. What happened was we already got $3 billion the city. And they used a lot of that money for other things throughout the city of New York. And they haven't focused really on housing where they should be focusing. I mean, it's a year later, people are not in their homes yet. And that should be the priority. And that's what, we've been saying, we've been fighting for all these months.
And I'm sure, Frank, similar situation. I mean, I'm sure, is it concerning to you about the change of administration now? We have Mayor de Blasio taking over, and there's certainly some room where, he needs to get caught up to speed.
And also, since we've heard that he already is potentially trying to earmark some of this money for other projects that it was not earmarked for. And also, just what I've heard, there's a time frame here. If we haven't started to help housing yet, correct me if I'm wrong, I've heard 2 years from the day they get the money, they need to spend it. What's going to happen? Because we're a year into the storm. I know we didn't have the money for a year, but it's going to be coming up on a year shortly. Are they going to be able to help the thousands of people that have applied in 2 years? Or what happens with this money when the city drops the ball?
So as a homeowner, do you kind of have a backup plan? I mean, you have this apartment now that you're renting. Will you be able to keep it if you're not getting the FEMA?
The plan is hope. That's it. That's all we have right now is hope. And if that doesn't come through, there's going to be a lot of homeless people in Staten Island.
Mike, I want to move on to another issue, and that's looting. We're still hearing stories about people that are having their homes looted.
Mm. Well, I mean, it's easy targets. COPPA. A lot of people had the Build It Back program. Well, not the Build It Back, but the rapid repair program. They came in, and these houses were unsecured, which means they were easy to get into, and they put all this new copper pipe for hot water heating and all that.
And the copper piping, for people that don't understand, is extremely valuable.
Yeah, especially it's light, it's compactable, and you can fit a lot of it into a van, and they go to make one stop, and they can make a pretty penny on it. And meanwhile, these people, they just keep getting kicked while they're down. And then you try to secure the area, and then they find other ways in because they know specific blocks don't have a lot of residents back home, so they target those deserted areas. And it's impossible to police, whether within regular police department or the community outreach programs that go and try to police it. There's only so much these people can do. And with these delays, it's just prolonging this and opening them up to more of these attacks and these crimes.
Anthony, NYPD has been fantastic, unbelievable. They can't be everywhere all the time. For my community, we had 129 homes. We're down to 109. If you drive through there on any given night, you could just see a whole block with no lights on.
And I guess
people are not home. They're empty, and it's easy target.
So the message would be for people like yourself, if you do have a home
please
secure it.
Try to secure it as best you can. A lot of the homes don't have electric, so they can't even turn a light on.
I want to end this segment on somewhat of a positive note. And I know that there are positive stories out there that we've all seen throughout the past few months. I want to go around the table. Each of you just talk about, if anything good may have come out of this.
I think the best thing that has come out of this whole situation is that we've really came together as a community to help one another. I mean, if you look at Yellow Boots, you look at the Scylla Foundation, you look at organizations like Habitat for Humanity. I was painting a constituent's home the other day with them. I mean, these volunteers are coming from all over to help us, and really we've been working together to make the best of the situation as we could. And
Mike?
Yeah, just basically echoing what Nicole had said. The way everyone bonded together, the way everyone's, came together as a cohesive unit and tried to help each other. Neighbors who didn't know each other's names now are on a friendly basis. And knowing that you're not alone, that there are people that are going to be there to help pick you up and for you to lean on. And everyone just working together for the common goal. And that goal is to get everyone back to a new normal.
And you probably have a lot more contacts in your cell phone now than you did before the storm. Frank, anything?
The only thing I could add is if it wasn't for people like Mike and the other groups out there, we would be nowhere.
And with that said, Mike, if people are interested in donating or helping out, how can they reach you and your organization?
Oh, well, yes, they can go to yellowboots.org. They can go on that site to donate or to volunteer. Even if it's the smallest skills or unskilled, just sign up and we'll find ways for you to work, and you can get back to us at any time on that website.
Because it's safe to say, Nicole, if it weren't for organizations like Yellow Boots, we would be in a far worse situation than we're at.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible to say that in a country like America, the United States of America, that we're in this situation a year later.
Okay. Nicole, Mike, Frank, thank you so much. Good luck to you, Frank. Hopefully you'll be here soon talking about your new home that the city helps you build back.